Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
Well, before we get started, I've got to brag. I got to say, the diversity on the information that the guest that we get has just been tremendous. And, I'm really, really proud of this show because, our getting feedback from folks on, how this has not just influenced them, but inspired them to go out and do things that they normally wouldn't have done. And that's what it's all about here at Influencers Radio. And today is no different because we have on a lady, a dynamo that is just has so much to say, so much information, and man, she can pack it in. I'm talking about Marci Lock. Marci Lock is just an incredible bundle of passion and energy. And she's one of those influencers that came from that background that a lot of people do that had struggles and overcame them. And what's really interesting is she began her journey into helping others into health and fitness, particularly with women, because she has she overcame some obstacles herself. She overcame battles with food, battles with fitness, and that's what she started to do to help others. But what happened as she did this is she started realizing and digging down that it was far more than muscles. It was far more than willpower. It was far more than a lot of things that, maybe herself and others, really think about when it comes to getting it together, whether it's through weight, finances, relationships, whatever. And so she really came to understand that no matter how much you know about food and fitness, and no matter how much she could teach others about food and fitness, the one thing that was common is oftentimes it really doesn't last unless you break through the beliefs and the root causes that are behind the problems. And what she discovered was she had far more to offer than helping women with diet and nutrition, and has now expanded to helping women and men, entrepreneurs, and the principles and the philosophies that she has goes far beyond fitness and nutrition. It goes into finances and relationships, all based on that principle when she discovered that beliefs and the root causes can affect so many different parts, and really the nutrition and the fitness was really a symptom. So I'm going to let Marci tell you all about it because, like I said, she has a lot to say, and man, she says it fast. So if you're driving, make sure your seatbelt's buckled. If you're eating, sitting down, put down the fork. If you are working out, listen to this on headphones, slow it down a little bit because you are going to get focused and your attention is going to zoom in completely on what Marci has to say. So we'll be right back with Marci Lock.
Don't miss a thing. Listen to and download past episodes, get show notes, resource lists, and leave feedback at influencersradio.com.
And we are back with Influencers Radio, and I can tell you right now that I can predict. If you want to know if I have a crystal ball, I have a crystal ball, and I can predict that this is going to be one of my favorite interviews because our guest encompasses multiple skill sets and multiple mindsets of the stuff that I really get into. And not only that I get into, but some that I really need if I have to be truthful. And today I have on Marci Lock, who is the body mind mentor. She's known as TV and radio's nutrition, fitness, mindset expert, which I definitely need some of that expertise. but it goes even deeper. And I don't even want to take, I want to take the spotlight off of the nutrition and fitness, because to me, the mindset that she brings, the philosophies that she brings, that if you get those down, the fitness and nutrition almost takes care of itself when you take care of the mindset, the way that that she explains it, and the way that she can get you thinking the way that you need to be thinking. Her philosophy, she calls it locking down the truth. And, she talks about it weekly on her radio programs, and definitely the pure definition of influencer, because she's influenced so many people to change dramatically that may have thought that their problem was health and fitness, but she unfolds and uncovers, gets down to the root cause of this and makes a much more dramatic difference in their life than just their body. Marci, how are you doing? I want to thank you for being on today.
Thanks, Jack, for having me. Of course. Yes, I'm super excited to be here. I totally appreciate it. Love sharing a message.
Well, it is. And that's the one thing that I really love is, you talk about the body, mind, the body. When I first discovered you, that's the thing that stuck and really stuck out to me, was that mind was almost as prevalent in your message as body. And I know a lot of people go to look at your information and see what you have because of your expertise in fitness and nutrition. But it goes so much deeper than that, because you start with the mind. I want you to talk about that. Let's go in that, because I know that from what I've seen and the results I've seen, people think they want to lose weight. They want a beach body. That's a no-brainer. That's going to happen. You can do that. But you go further into showing them how it's not about getting there. It's about keeping it. And that's where the mind comes in. So let's start there.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you nailed it in that everybody wants the body. And what's interesting is most of us don't have it. And why is that? And it's society, we're so focused on, if you look at it, this is what I find so fascinating, is that we are bombarded, Jack, you know this, we have countless amounts of information at our fingertips with the computer and with internet and with technology. And so we have more knowledge on nutrition and fitness than ever. And yet, what are the results of our society is that we live in an obese society, that most people are struggling with their weight. They're not living in a lean, healthy body, that they feel energy and they're thriving and they're seizing life. So why do we have the results that we do? And why, if it was really, so what we've been targeting and looking at is, okay, well, it's about nutrition, it's about fitness. And these are the surface things that society is known to focus on. It's like, okay, it's just the next diet, it's the next pill, it's the next workout program. But what I want people to hear and question is, if this was the answer, if nutrition and fitness was the answer, why then do we not have the results? Why don't you live in a body of health? Why haven't you been able to have the results? And that the long-term success rate of a dieter is less than 2%. So when you question this, you go, what do we do over and over and over again? Same thing, another diet or another workout plan, etc. And yet we continue to get the same results. You know what that is, right, Jack?
What is it?
Definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And yet, this is what we do, because why do we do the things we do is because of our belief system. And in our society, this has been the belief system of what works to get the body, but it's really false, because do most people have a totally ripped, lean, healthy body, and they're easily, effortlessly staying in it and maintaining it?
Well, it's not. What I want to know is, you say, the definition of insanity, which that is absolutely what it is. And people know it's something that seems so obvious that if every time I eat this garbage that I'm putting in my mouth because it tastes good, and I do it over and over again, knowing full well this is not good for me, knowing full well that this is actually hurting me, what makes that different than if I just kept stabbing myself in the eye with a fork and I would say, gosh, this hurts, I'm going to stop. And I would be able to stop, right?
That's a great analogy, Jack. Great. But see, that's a whole other different aspect that I could go off on for hours, is that the reason we reach for certain things even is because of our associations to them, which create a feeling of comfort. And so we're seeking something inside of ourselves. In a moment, a pain button gets triggered, a core belief gets triggered. You could be working in your office and feeling overwhelmed with the project, and I don't know how it's going to end up, and it feels like it looks like failure. And if your perfectionist identity where everything has to look perfectly to be successful, validated, and loved, then instead of actually getting clear with what you get to do on the project, you find yourself distracted, you find yourself in the pantry, you're reaching for foods. Like I coach high-end people that are really powerful people, that some that even run countries, some that are very high, powerful coaches and trainers and speakers. And I even, with one the other day, we were getting clear on how he now figured out his association was he'd get nervous before speaking, or get anxious about certain speaking events or projects or something, and he would want to reach for crunchy foods because he had an association that would calm his nerves and it would make him calm. Did it ever really do that? No, it didn't. It just made him feel shitty because he put crappy food in his system and he felt, more off balance. But yet he was reaching for something outside of himself to give himself a feeling inside himself that he wants. So this is why we reach for food. That's a whole other aspect I could go on to. But going back to the original question you asked me, because again, I'm like so much knowledge that I want to share here on people getting clear with what's really going on with their body is a reflection of what's going on internally. Externally, what's showing up is a reflection of internally what you believe you can have and what you deserve. So again, going back to, hey, you want a beach body, and why don't we have that? We're missing the key component. We're missing the mindset. We're missing what's going on inside us. You are the key component as to why you stop yourself and you sabotage from getting to a body of health, why you don't allow yourself to stay in it is because the belief systems, the identity patterns, all these things that say, I don't believe I can have this, or this scares me. So an example of this, because a lot of times people are like, I don't quite get that. That's super deep. So, for example, if a female has an experience where she feels like she's unsafe if she has a good body, or women a lot of times will take on they're going to be judged by other women, or we have this thought of like, oh, if you look that way, you must be egotistical. You must not be a nice person. You must not be a good mom. All these deeper belief systems is what will stop people when they start to get close to their goals. It's actually their comfort zone. And so they'll create an injury or something will happen where they'll literally stop themselves, sabotage themselves because deep down they don't believe they can have it, or there's fear attached to having it. They're just not aware of it. So really what I focus on that is so different, because I experienced struggling with the body my whole life. From the time I was little, grew up and did anorexia and bulimia and did all these things because I was so desperately trying to get the body to be validated and loved. But the only time I ever allowed myself to create a lean, ripped body of health after having children and everything and living in it effortlessly for life is I got to break through the belief systems behind the behaviors. And you and I talked a little bit about that, is what I believe is if you have a belief system that you're unsafe with a healthy body, if you have a belief system that you're going to be judged, if you have a belief system that even down to the behaviors that eating healthy is hard and it takes, that working out, you've got to work out for hours a day, or all these things that really aren't true, you stop yourselves from ever going there. And so you get to break through the beliefs behind the behaviors to ever stay with it. Otherwise, what you see happening, Jack, is people go, oh, like you just said, I want a beach body. I'm going to go gangbuster. I'm going to do some 90-day challenge and I'm going to rock it out and I'm just going to focus on this for 90 days. And they might get there in 90 days or they might get closer, but it's never going to last. It's never going to last until you break through the belief systems behind it and you learn the 4 components I believe in teaching, which is there's the nutrition, because 80% of your results are nutrition. So that leaves 20% is fitness. But what we're missing is 100% mindset. And then we get to learn the skill set to learn how to implement all those things together to daily creating the body that's going to last for the rest of your life. And those same belief systems, when they shift to allow yourself to live in the body, those same belief systems are the ones that are stopping you in having epic finances, epic relationships, an amazing business, spiritual connection. All these things are because of the belief systems and your internal subconsciousness that we're just never made aware of from our conditioning.
Well, you said something really interesting there, and that's something that really, really intrigued me, is that when you talked about, a lot of the folks that you work with, that when you fix what is going on in their nutrition, all of a sudden there's some other things that get fixed too, that perhaps, the nutrition, the weight isn't the problem, but it's the symptom of a bigger problem. So talk about that a little bit, about how that these things may be parallel. If you are sitting there with a weight problem and you're sabotaging yourself, if you take a look over at your finances, is something similar happening there? If you take a look over at your relationships, is something similar happening there? Can you tie those together and talk about that parallel and how oftentimes that these other things start correcting themselves when you hit that root of the problem?
Yeah. Okay. So because it is all tied to the belief system. So you nailed it in that when we look at the weight, that's just a symptom that's showing up from the root cause. The root cause is the reason why you create the weight. So I'm going to hit this from a couple different angles So, for instance, an example would be, I remember I'm working with this high-end couple that they're both speakers and trainers, and they own this massive training company. And so they got a couple days of hands-on with me being my personal clients. And as we were even going through nutrition coaching and, like, cleaning out their pantry and doing stuff, literally there was, like, some blocks and barriers I could hear in the female in her words of what she was afraid of. And so I said, okay, so what's the thought going on there? And what we dug up was, from growing up, her house was the place where all her friends would come because they would eat snacks and candy and treats because their pantry was filled with them. So she had an association that this is what makes my house fun. And so her deeper fear was, if I shift into eating healthy, and we eat healthy here, my kids, she had teenage boys, she's like, my kids are not going to want to come to our house. They're going to always go to their friend's house. And so this is just a fear that's a thought. It's a thought that we don't even know is true. And so we had, like, her boys there in the room, and we were, teaching everybody in the whole family on, like, shifting to that if we can understand that living in a body of health is our life creation. Our body is just our tool to experience everything else. So first off, Jack, if you're not experiencing a body of health, you are paying a cost in everything. It's not just, I don't feel good in my clothes and I don't have as much energy. Literally, you're tired, you're sluggish, you can't produce as much in your business, you're not in tune and connected to, like, create and be inspired. I believe fit equals focus. Like, after I work out in the morning, my body's on, I'm, like, in tune and I'm on fire. Like, I'm connected, and also, like, all these inspirations are coming to me to create. And I see, like, if you're feeling fogged over is what the best example for me to use is when you're craving sugar and you're tired and irritable and you don't have energy and it's like you're operating out of a fog. How could that not keep you limited in what you're producing in your business? How can that not keep you limited in wanting to connect with your spouse or your relationship? How can that not keep you limited in connecting with your kids, in your spiritual alignment to be guided? Because I believe, this has been my experience, the more ripped and shredded I am, the more in tune with God I am. The more I am clear and connected and literally like, okay, go here, do this, speak to this person, say this. Like, I'm like, oh, got it. Like, I'm just a tool in God's hands. But when you're fogged over, it's like your body is like a garden hose, if you think of it in this analogy. Now what happens when you kink the hose, Jack?
Well, it stops flowing.
But is it the same tool? Is the tool the same? You're still the same tool, right? But it's not.
Are you calling me a tool?
You're totally a tool. Everybody's a tool. Our body is a tool, but our tool is the vehicle to experience everything in our life. So that's the one angle that I want you to hear, is that, yes, your body affects everything, but that's just talking about the physical, that your body physically is attached to everything, and that your spirit's connected to that, your internal connection, your ability to thrive and think and have energy, and all these things are connected to it. Now, where you're asking me to go and say, how do these things connect to your root beliefs? So if, for instance, I'll try to think of another example here, is your perfectionist identity. So your belief systems that say, if I don't show up for everyone, if it doesn't look this way, if it's not successful, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. As a perfectionist identity, we are so afraid of failure that we'll do anything to succeed. But if we don't know what it's going to look like, we don't want to move. We won't make a decision to do something unless we know absolutely that and most people can relate to that. It's like, unless I know how it's going to look, I'm not going to try. And so if I think there's a chance of failure, I'm not going to try, or I'm going to hold myself back. So what this actually does is we never try for success. We stay where we're comfortable, where we know we're successful in this space. So how this shows up is that same thing that could show up with the body. Say, for instance, they start doing a diet or working out, and or say they're like, I'm going to do this race with my friends, and then the fear shows up in them that, like, oh, I'm out of shape, or I can't do this, or it doesn't look good enough. it triggers so deeply that deep core belief that I'm not good enough. Because if your perfectionist identity, the deep core belief is I'm not good enough in who I am. And so I have to prove I'm good enough. I have to show up for everyone else. I have to constantly be taking on a million projects. I'm a yes man. And then all these things to prove, validate I'm good enough. So if there's fear that I'm going to show up not good enough, literally we create ways to sabotage ourselves. And that might be someone creating an injury to go, oh, I was going to do this race with my friends, but I hurt my ankle. Or I started working out in the gym and this happened. Oh, I was going to do that, but then all these projects came up. And then, or we look for validations that we can't do and say, oh, it's just not the right time. I got too much going on with the kids. We literally hold ourselves in the comfort zone. So that can show up with the body, but the same thing shows up in your business. Meaning, like, if you want to extend your business to the next level. So I had a guy, I've had several, like, high-end guys actually, come into my program. I'm known for, obviously, like, I do a Goddess Warrior program. I'm known for taking women to that next level. I work with a lot of high-end people that just haven't gotten fully in tune with their bodies so that they can bust their skills and their abilities and their greatness to another level. But I have a lot of guys that come in and they're like, why am I stopping myself in my business? And they do my program thinking, I got to get clear on why I'm sabotaging my business. And it's interesting what we create the connections to. Like, for instance, I had one guy who he was like, I keep sabotaging my business, and I don't know why. So going through my program, we found that he had a belief system that successful people are assholes. So how can you create success in business if you don't want to be an asshole? I mean, it's like you won't let yourself be something that you don't want to be. And this is why your mind is, the component that's missing to, he would only go so far in his business and he'd sabotage. So if you believe that success is hard, that you're going to have to give up your family, that, you have to work 14-hour days, if there's too much pain in it and all these things you don't want, you're obviously going to hold yourself back from doing that. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. And I use the word frightening only for, lack of another word that comes in. The frightening thing is how much I recognize as you're talking about this, right? And I'm sure the people that are listening are sitting listening to you, and then it's just bubbling up and they're recognizing that, oh my, I can see where this has happened. I can see where this has happened. I mean, everything you're saying is triggering these aspects of, obviously my life. And I think a lot of people are listening that are recognizing that we never would have associated with this. And I know, I've heard people break through the barriers and break through the results that what you do, at the surface, those are words. They're marketing words or whatever, if you will. But I've seen people where those words mean something so much more, breaking through barriers to get breakthrough results. In that, I've seen examples of people that may have gone to you that say, hey, I really want to lose 20 pounds, but end up changing their whole life and business dramatically, far more than what they thought. And I think, how can you help not improve other parts of your life? The way that you're explaining this and the way that you're talking about, these issues and what triggers this is just, just remarkable. And so when someone sees that, is there a breakthrough moment that they just have that where it's like, I just realized I just got it. This is why I do this. How big of a pop is that, or is it something that's gradual? Because this is just really fascinating on how these things are uncovered. Talk about how that moment that these beliefs are, when you finally find the root, because I know that you're really big on finding the root cause, that, you say that, I can help you get ripped and shredded. That's the easy part. It's the keeping it and the understanding how to keep that. That's the hard part. What does it take to dig through there? And I know you have programs that go through this, but I think just to get a visual of how that works would be tremendous.
Okay, well, yeah, I do believe that losing weight is really easy. The question again, is what we just kind of nailed and talked about is why aren't you? So you do break through the beliefs and you break through the barriers to get breakthrough results. That's kind of what I do with people is you can see how when we break through the belief systems, obviously the body gets to show up, but then also you can allow the finances to show up, the relationships to show up and everything. So the key thing is for me is I really want to get clear with people is that it's the belief systems create everything else. And when we can look at that and we can learn how to shift the belief systems deep down and the identity patterns and all these things that we're in, then we can go on to having like an epic life of having it all. The other thing that I see, Jack, is that people think, well, okay, I'm going to put focus on the body. I'm just going to, like I said, do this 90 days. I'm going to rock out the body. But then what falls away is every other aspect of their life. Like then their relationships are suffering or their business is suffering. And we haven't learned, we've just been conditioned and training to not really be the powerful creators that we are. To literally have this balanced, awesome life of everything and see what are the blocks that are stopping us in having greatness in all aspects. So as far as going back to like losing weight is really easy, it's why aren't you? It is, if we're not going to that space and that stuff, then we literally keep replaying the same things over and over. We stay in the same cycle, in the same system. Is that kind of what you're asking me? Or,
yeah. Because I think you just made a perfect example how when people say, hey, I'm going to do 90 days, I'm going to really commit to this, and they end up, they end up neglecting those other parts. And you can see that parallel when people say, I'm going to spend the 90 days building my business or changing my business, and then what happens? Their health and their weight gets affected because of the balance. It sounds like, once you understand this and have these breakthroughs, then this natural balance can occur that allows you to kind of have it all by removing the garbage that you had, what you're talking about, the replaying, these excuses that you come up with, these reasons, these self-sabotaging thoughts that are behind all this.
Yeah, of course. And it's sabotaging ourselves to stay in our comfort zone in every aspect of our lives. So it's huge because, this is what I feel like is super important to understand, is because I started off, and most people have heard my story. Obviously I do TV and radio and there's kind of my stories out everywhere, but at 4 years old is where I created the belief system. I took on a belief because what happens is, when we're children or when we're born, basically, we have this clean slate. We come with this clean slate. Our mind has no idea. We don't know what life's supposed to look like. We don't know what relationships or money experience is supposed to be, what our body's supposed to be. So it's through we have an experience then from that experience, we take on a belief. So say at 2 years old, some kid pushes you and you create the thought, oh, people are mean. Kids are mean. So that's where a belief starts. Now, when we believe something, or what we're doing is we're looking to prove our beliefs right, no matter what. Even if they hurt us, it's just natural human nature. We want to be right. We want to prove that we know what we're talking about. So now as this 2-year-old, I'm looking for evidence that people are mean. And so when whatever your mind is, consumes your mind is what creates your life. And so whatever I'm focused on, I find. It's just like in any situation, if you look for the good, you're going to find the good, right? If you look for the bad, you're going to find the bad. So whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. And so what happens is we're looking for evidence that people are mean, and then we see it, and then it happens, I say we prove our beliefs right in 3 ways. The first way is you attract it or you create it by it shows up in your life. You attract that into your life. The second way is that you interpret what you see to prove yourself right. So let's say, for example, you walk into a party, and if your belief is people don't like me, and there's 100 people in the room, you end up talking to 2 people, and something they say interprets to you that they don't like you. Or someone might look at you from across the room and be thinking, damn, they look good, right? And yet you see it and interpret it as, oh, they think I'm so ugly, they're looking at me. We interpret what we see to prove ourselves right. The third way is that we act out to prove ourselves right. So even if, like, say you have a belief system that you're not worth being loved, or again, people don't like me, if someone comes into your life and they're showing you love, it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you anxious. You believe you don't deserve it. You don't deserve good relationships. You don't believe relationships are good. Maybe love is untrusting. I have some of these belief systems. And yet, so then what happens is we put up our guard, we put up a wall, we act out, and we do things to push the person away till they go, okay, fine, you're right, you don't want me. And they leave, so then we go, see, I'm not worth being loved. See, no one will ever love me. And we prove ourselves right. Just like if you believe I'm not smart, you might not study for a test. You prove yourself right. So the message I feel like is so important to hear is when I, at 4 years old, decided from just an experience of going out walking with my mom, that, and having some experiences, seeing how important weight was to my mom, because that was the belief system she took on. I took on a belief that I have to have a perfect body to be loved. And then that stemmed into perfectionist identity, which meant I had to show up in a mask. I had to show up for everybody. I had to do everything right. Everything had to be perfect so that I was good enough, which meant my deep core belief was I didn't love myself. I didn't believe I was good enough in who I was. I had to be someone other than me to be good enough. So my whole life I struggled fighting the body, trying to get a good body because I thought that made me good enough. And so it was diet, pills, programs, over and over, everything you can imagine. It was anorexia, it was bulimia. And I never had the body, Jack. This is what I'm talking about, the definition of insanity. I did all these things behaviorally, all the workouts, all the eating, all the diets, everything you can imagine, all the pills, and I never got success. And even if I got close to success, I'd sabotage. Or if I did it, I'd have it for a little bit, and then the next thing you knew, I had sabotage. It's like I couldn't keep it. Why? Because it didn't correlate with my belief system. It did not resonate with what I believed I deserved and that I was good enough. So if I say, well, I'm good enough if I have a good body, I got to go for a good body. If deep down I don't believe I'm good enough, then I won't let myself have it. So this is why I say whatever is showing up as out externally, it's a reflection of what's going on internally. So for me now, fast forward, this is why I'm so freaking passionate about what I do, is that here you look at the pictures of me where I've been lean, ripped, and shredded for 10 plus years after having kids. I'm a single mom with 2 little boys. And I went through, and you see those pictures where I was 70 pounds overweight, and people are like, wow, that was you. It's like I lived in this space easily and effortlessly, living in a body of health because I got to shift my belief systems that I love myself. I love who I am. I know I'm a divine daughter of God. I know I'm a tool in God's hands. But until I got to that space and I loved me for me and I learned how to shift the beliefs and all these things, I couldn't create the body of health. So I constantly fought it and struggling and doing everything and would never get the body. It wasn't until I shifted the beliefs that allowed me to stay in the behaviors of health and be at peace with behaviors and be at total peace with my body. Now my body is just like, I believe what I do is so easy. I think what everyone else is doing is so hard. Fighting their body, dealing with diets, suppressing their appetite, dealing with cravings, anxious and irritable, up and down, living in a fog. I'm like, it feels so freaking awesome and easy to live in a body of health and to have this peace and freedom and to have energy to play with my kids and to thrive and create my business and be inspired and just be a tool in God's hands. It's amazing. It's freedom. Why are we not living this way? Is because we haven't connected to who we truly are. And that's what we've forgotten, and that's why it's not showing up.
Now, I think, what's clear is, one, it's remarkable that you were able to make that transformation and recognize this in yourself. And I'm sure, it is a lot of work, a lot of struggle to go through that. But what to me is doubly or even, exponentially impressive is the fact that you are, and what makes you an influencer is that you've figured out how to flip this switch in others. That you figured out how to transfer what you figured out and what you applied to yourself to other people to do that, because you've clearly influenced and inspired and changed, the not just the health, but the everything from relationships to finances with the folks that you work with, and you do this. What is it? I want to just quickly. What happened the day that you figured out that, this is duplicatable? I know I have a way to explain this and to show others how to do this. And what was it like that first person that you applied this to and it made such a dramatic difference for them?
Well, yeah, it was me realizing that I think part of my genius, what God's given me as my gift, and learning these tools, like it was my journey, it was my perfect journey to struggle with the body, to figure out how to become at peace and freedom with the body, but realizing that it was the mindset that created the body and created everything else in my life. So it's like I've learned these tools along my journey and figured out these ways that is you create it on a daily basis to retrain your mind to have these belief systems. So instead of like, oh, hey, eat a salad, and all of a sudden, like, of course you don't have the body of health the very next day. This is kind of how our society operates. So I think part of my genius is I take people through going from surface consciousness to subconscious. And what's actually funny, Jack, is we live subconsciously. We're not living consciously. We're living subconsciously. Because when I was, say that example I used before, at 2 years old you believe that people are mean, then what happens is, because if that becomes your belief and your perception of how you see the world, you create patterns and behaviors based off of that make you safe and comfortable. So that might be that when people get close to you, push them away, or you put up a block or a guard. So what happens is we get clear on that this is just identity, the only identity you know. And I think so many people are aware that they sabotage. They're aware that they hold themselves back either in the body or finances or relationships or whatever it is, but they don't know how to change it. They don't know how to shift it. And this is because all they know is what they've been conditioned in their whole life and the identity patterns that they know and the belief systems they've had. And so I feel like the gift that I've been given is to take people from awareness to how to create that change. And it's learning how to plant a new seed to then cultivate that seed with daily patterns and habits. And it's tools. I really talk about, it's almost like I give people tools to build a new toolbox so that when shit shows up, basically, and that's usually what will put people right back in their comfort zone and shut them down. I teach them how to become conscious, because you're going to act out subconsciously based on what happens. You're going to go right into subconscious patterns, things that make you comfortable. That's why I go into foods that you associate to for comfort, etc. Instead, it's learning how to become aware. Oh, this shows up. Now, how do I learn to become conscious of what's the thought that I'm thinking, and is that really true? And I actually take people through a 5 steps to overcome sabotage. It's one of the greatest tools I use even daily, so that you're constantly becoming more conscious and aware of how you react and how you think and how you perceive and what you move on to create the life that you want, versus just going always back into the space of where you're comfortable and staying in your subconscious patterns. So for me, it was designing and building and understanding how to take people from a surface consciousness. Like we start at the very top, and I teach people, okay, let's get clear on nutrition, so that you can literally, because most people don't know, your body is a fat burning machine. It is your ultimate fat burning partner. This is the way we were designed to be. Your body is meant to be lean and healthy easily and effortlessly. We've just been working against it. So it's trying to be your best friend and your partner and basically save your life. And it's doing everything that you're doing is like fighting against it and making it go into modes where it's like holding on to food or to fat, because it thinks it's like trying to allow you to survive. It's like you're working against it when we learn how to work with our body. So this is the behavioral part that I love. I love rocking out the body too, because I love teaching people how to like eat to be a fat machine and love food and it be easy and effortless, and how to rock out short, sweet, effective workouts and you get crazy fast results. I love all that. I just know that it's not the end all. It will never last for life until you also incorporate understanding the belief systems and the mindset and the skill set to get there. So, but first I'm like, hey, let's start on the top surface. Let's start understanding how to turn your body into a fat burn machine, how to get it to trust you again, how to work with it every meal to eat to be a fat burn machine, and actually how to work with our body. So we start on that process. Then it's like, for my mind-body breakthrough program, week 2, they start to go into the mindset. And then it's like week 3, they dig a little deeper. And each week they get a different understanding of like tools of like getting conscious of what are my beliefs, how do these patterns show up, what are my associations here. So like week 4, I go into like how to overcome sabotage and what feeling are you really seeking when that moment stuff comes up. You get clear. I'm like, okay, that's right. I respond this way, I react this way because perfection's identity, I think, ask this way, is really true. And understanding how to become conscious and think, well, what am I really wanting right now? Like, what feeling am I wanting, and how do I give myself that? So I kind of take them through that process. And weeks 5 and 6 is what's your relationship to food. They get clear on what are your patterns that show up, what are your associations with certain foods. Like, the more we become conscious, these things drop away. And we're actually planting new belief seeds and new patterns and new habits. And then it's like, step by step, we're using these things daily, and we're creating this new experience of us. And so within 90 days, it's amazing. People are always like, oh my gosh, I don't even recognize that person that I was 90 days ago. That like seems like someone I was years ago. They're so shifted. And I see people shift huge in just the first few weeks of using these transformational tools that change the way you see everything, your finances, your relationships, everything. And the other thing that I'm really passionate about is teaching people how to have an awesome life in all aspects. It's a core 5 concept I teach where you actually are building balance, relationships, spiritually, financially, in your business. All of it comes into play versus just going, okay, well, I'm going to get an awesome body. Because the awesome body you're not going to be happy if your relationships suck. You're not going to be happy if you don't have the money to live the life that you want to live. So I believe it's these tools, but so going back, you say people come into my program because they literally see me as this rock star in the body. They're like, she's ripped and shredded. She's a nutrition fitness expert. Cool. I want the body. But what they get out of it is it's all mindset. And what happens is the body becomes the bonus. Because what happens, Jack, is through this process of discovering who you are and breaking through all the old shit and creating who you want to be, the body then, because you love yourself and you go into the patterns and this new creation, the body just shows up because it's in alignment with your mindset and it's in alignment with your spirit. It's mind, body, spirit, and it's in alignment with who you are. So by the end of 90 days, people are like, their whole lives have shifted massively, but their body is this, like, you know, they totally get to that space where they get their results and they're like, wow, this is such a bonus. I'm here. I thought at the beginning when I started this process, this is what I wanted, but I didn't realize that this was just a reflection of all the other shit inside that I got to let go of. And then the body shows up.
No, and the thing is, and I know this, and I've seen this, you know, firsthand, is one, I think anyone that's listening to you right now is thinking, man, this, you know, she must, you know, work 16 hours a day. One, all the stuff that you're talking about in the systems and the clients that you're working with and the radio shows, the TV, the videos that you do, yet remarkably, every time that I've, you know, reached out that we've connected, it hasn't been, oh, stop, you know, I can't talk right now. I'm doing a radio show. Not I can't talk. I'm shooting videos. Not I'm working with clients. It's I'm at a party with my son.
We were like in a movie theater.
Yeah. And I thought, and I see all this content and I see all this stuff that you're up to. And it just hits me that, man, you know, she is living what she's talking about, because when I reach out, she's not worried. She's spending time with her kids. She's doing things that so many people think that in order to be successful in different ways that they don't have time for, that they have to sacrifice. And I think you're living, you know, testament to the fact that it's doesn't have to be sacrifice. It's balance and doing the right things. And it sounds to me like, going back to the beginning of what we talked about, and not to oversimplify it, but talking about, you know, stabbing myself in the eye with the fork, it sounds like, to really distill it down, you show people how to put the fork down. You know what you're doing wrong, you know what's doing, and here's how you stop. And I think that's where the true power of all of this is. And I think that's where, you know, like I said, you are an influencer, and you influence people that clearly go out and share what you've done with the people that they have relationships with, whether it's business, whether it's personal or whatever. And it just spreads out, because anyone that I've talked to that has gone through your program or follows you, it's infectious, you know, and not just that, but it's also it's addictive. And I've watched your videos, some of your workout videos, and, you know, I'm thinking, oh man, I don't know if I want to actually see her in person. I'm afraid she's going to make me cry. You know, but it is, I can see how you get down to it. I mean, and you can have a very huge impact in a very quick time. And I think anyone that's listened to this realizes this. You know, we've been on here for, you know, maybe the 30 minutes or so. And, you know, you've certainly changed some things in my mind and some things that have made me recognize things and patterns that are happening that are just remarkable that's happened just over listening to this over the last 30 minutes. And I'm sure it's going to affect others as well. Here's what I want to find out. You have so much stuff. You have so much information. You have so much stuff that's just truly inspiring. And if you think that you've been inspired by listening to this, I want you to go check out the other stuff that Marci's up to. And I hate to use the cliche, but you ain't seen nothing yet. How can they find out more about what you're doing, what you're up to, and see how these transformations happen, and can also happen for them as well?
Well, the best place to get access to me, I have several programs based on, because my true passion totally is to assist each person in wherever space they're in to move forward in their life. Because I know I was in that space before where it's like, oh, I didn't have, you know, after I found out I had a cheating husband and became divorced, I had 2 little boys, I was a single mom of a 1 and 4-year-old. I didn't have $10 to my name. And so shifting from that to the experience I'm in now is, but you know, it's like I want to help everyone. So I literally have an at-home mind body transformation program. We have a mastermind program with groups and coaches that support you on breaking through these, you know, all the stuff that wants to stop you and hold you back. And then I also have my clients that I personally coach and work with. and I have a Goddess Warrior program. But the best way is to go to mindbody90.com. That's mindbody90.com. And you can opt in for a free video series. So I have a free video series on there that just kind of takes you through a lot of the content and gives you a ton of free stuff. If you apply, then one of my team gets in touch with you. We send you a link that actually gives you a couple of my free 10-minute focused tryouts. And Jack, you've been talking about that. It's like, see, these are the fears that stop us. They go, oh, I couldn't do that. But really, it's like, I teach you how to work out. You probably saw from those videos. It's super effective, get crazy fast results in such a short amount of time, breaking through the belief that it takes a lot of time. But it's the thought process like, oh, I could fail, or that looks hard, or any of those things, when really it's like, you could do as much as you can do, and you stop and go, oh, Marci, mini break. I'm stronger every day. Like, instead of like, oh, I suck, I can't do this, and you tell your body, yep, I suck, I can't have this, and you reaffirm that limiting belief system. So it's interesting how all these thoughts make us go, oh, I wouldn't dare try that because that looks too hard, or when really it's just a moment at a time. So all that stuff we get to break through, but it's just you realizing, I think this, if you want something different, you get to do something different to get different results. So if you go to mindbody90.com, you can opt in, get the free video series. If you apply, then one of my team gets in touch with you to just get clear with you. Like, our whole passion is just to assist people. So to find out what aspect would serve you best, what kind of program would serve you best. And then again, she always sends out a link to get a couple of my free coachings on what's your relationship to food. You know, I have a webinar that's really transformational for people on how to get off the roller coaster of weight loss. And that's something free that we give to you, along with a couple of the free workouts to try, just so you get a taste of what I do. I do all aspects from nutrition, fitness, mindset, and then the skill set. Also, MarciLock.com obviously has a lot of my testimonials, my TV shows, my radio shows. You can jump into my radio show every single week where I lock down the truth on my Warrior Woman radio show and my Goddess Warrior stuff. And so there's there's tons of stuff out there that we just want to get you informed and get you moving to create something different.
Marci Lock, my prediction was spot on. Definitely one of my favorite interviews that I've done. Awesome. Hit so many points. Got so much incredible information. If you could only talk faster, I think we could get more in.
Yeah, that's usually, I recognize when I first started doing TV, I wanted to create so much value and I wanted to share so much that I'd be like, which you can tell, obviously talk fast.
Well,
and then I had to realize, slow down, Mars, so they can take in the message. But yeah, there's so much I want to share. So you got to keep up with me, I guess. Oh yeah.
Well, to contrast with the Texas guy, we get beat down for the exact opposite. Come on, spit it out, speed it up. So. Well,
I probably do well with that market then, because I definitely spit it out pretty fast.
Yeah, well, that's what, us with Texas folks, it's like, man, I couldn't get a pause in edgewise, very, very, so it just incredible information. You are definitely like I said, the definition of an influencer, and exactly what, Influencers Radio is all about. So I want to thank you for coming on today and sharing what you, as much as you had. And I think, you have even made some transformations for folks listening to this. So I definitely thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm so grateful to always just get to share this message, because I don't feel like it's mine. It just comes through me. It's God's. It's just, I was blessed to be the tool that got to be on my own perfect journey to learn this stuff and get to share it with other people, that it's totally possible to have a body that is peaceful and in freedom with it, and it allows you to be fully capable. Last thing I want to share, though, Jack, is that if you're not showing up in a body of health, I do believe you're operating out of less than 1/3 of your capacity, and it does create a cost you're paying in every aspect of your life. So that's why we start with the body, but then we get into what's holding you back in every aspect of your life. So, but it's possible, and I'm so grateful to share that message. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, it's definitely been my pleasure for sure. So, folks, check out what Marci's doing. And I think just about anybody in any situation, wherever you're at, you may not feel that you have any weight to lose or anything, but I guarantee you, you've had your mind, your brain is itching right now, because something that we talked about here today resonates with you, and it may be something even outside of that can be affected and transformed. So definitely check it out. We'll see you next time on Influencers Radio, and remember, you are truly the only real game changer. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.